All right, let's just start by saying, forget everything you think you know about Wall Street. Seriously, we're not talking about gut feelings or picking hot stocks. We are talking about a man who looked at the market and saw a code, a huge, messy, noisy data problem that he believed could be solved with pure mathematics. This is the story of how a code breaker completely rewrote the rules of investing.
Whoa, hold on, Alana. Let's just stop right there. 66%? You mean annually? For 30 years straight? That sounds made up. I mean, my best year ever was maybe 15%, and I was popping champagne. How is a number like that even possible?
Oh, it's very real, Alex. And this chart really puts it into perspective, doesn't it? For over 3 decades, while the general market was chugging along at about 10% a year, which is pretty good, Jim Simons' Medallion Fund was on another planet. Get this, it never had a down year, not during the dot-com bust, not even during the 2008 financial meltdown. It's basically the single greatest anomaly in financial history.
Okay, so that's it. That's the question everyone watching is asking right now. This isn't just about beating the market. This feels like breaking the laws of physics. So let's get into it. How on earth did he do it? What was the secret?
Well, to understand the fund, you have to understand the man who built it. And the most important thing to know is that Jim Simons was not a Wall Street guy. Not even close. He was something completely different. So this is Jim Simons. But long before anyone called him the Quant King, he was a world-class mathematician. We're talking about a guy who was co-creating geometric theories that are actually fundamental to string theory and modern physics. He wasn't thinking about PE ratios, he was thinking about the actual shape of the universe. And just look at his career path. It tells you everything. An undergrad degree from MIT, a PhD from Berkeley by the time he was just 23, and then, and this is the key part, he goes to work as a codebreaker for the NSA during the Cold War. After that, he becomes the head of a major university's math department. Do you see what's missing? There is zero mention of finance or business anywhere. Right, and here's the light bulb moment. At the NSA, his entire job was to pull secret messages out of what sounded like pure static, just noise. And one day it clicked. He realized financial markets are the exact same thing, a gigantic, incredibly noisy data set. He suspected that hidden inside all that chaos were faint patterns, little non-random signals that you could never spot with the human eye, but an algorithm could. He wasn't trading, he was code breaking. Okay, I totally get the concept. I mean, it's a game-changing idea. But how do you actually go from having this brilliant idea to building a firm that can pull it off? You know, Wall Street isn't exactly famous for hiring a bunch of math professors. He did it by building a company that looked nothing like a typical Wall Street firm. In fact, he saw Wall Street experience as a bad thing. It meant you had to unlearn bad habits. He hired mathematicians, physicists, linguists, and computer scientists. He famously hired a bunch of people from IBM's speech recognition team. He didn't want anyone who thought they knew why a stock moved. He only wanted people who could prove a statistical correlation. Human intuition wasn't just discouraged, it was strictly forbidden. Yeah, and this quote from another famous mathematician, Isidore Singer, just says it all. Simons didn't build a trading floor, he built a world-class research lab. He set it up on a campus out in Long Island, way far away from Manhattan. The whole culture was academic. Share your ideas, run experiments, and be brutally honest about whether the data supports your hypothesis.
So what were all these brilliant scientists actually building in that lab? What does a term like statistical arbitrage even mean for you and me?
It means they were not making big, dramatic bets on where they thought Apple was going. Not at all. They were building incredibly complex systems to find tiny, temporary pricing errors. So imagine 2 different stocks that, for whatever reason, almost always move together, like dance partners. If one of them briefly stumbles and moves out of sync, their system would in a fraction of a second buy one and sell the other, betting that they'll snap back together. The profit on that one trade is almost nothing. We're talking fractions of a cent.
And it's really important to know, Simons didn't just dream this up out of thin air. He was building on the work of other pioneers, people like Edward Thorp, the math professor who figured out how to beat casinos at blackjack, and then took those same ideas to Wall Street. And for deciding how much to bet on each trade, they were using principles like the Kelly Criterion, which is a formula for calculating the perfect bet size to maximize growth over time. Okay, that makes sense. So if they cracked the code, why hasn't everybody else just copied them? It's been decades. Surely other brilliant people have tried to figure out what they're doing. This is my favorite part because it's so counterintuitive. You'd think a system this successful would be right like 90% of the time. But look at this. Their actual win rate was only about 51%. That is barely better than flipping a coin. And that explains why you can't just copy it. The secret isn't about making a few brilliant predictions. It's about being a casino. You know, the house only has a very small edge in a game like blackjack, right? But because they play millions of hands, that tiny edge becomes a mathematical certainty of profit. Renaissance did exactly that, making tens of thousands, sometimes hundreds of thousands of trades every single day, each one with that tiny 51% chance of working. It's the volume and the discipline that turn a coin flip into a money-printing machine.
And this is how they protect it all. It's not just one thing. It's a whole system. First, there's insane secrecy. It's a total black box. Second, any predictive edge you find in the market dies off pretty quickly as other people find it. So their whole team is in a constant arms race to find new signals as the old ones fade. You combine that with a unique academic culture and decades of data and technology, and you get a moat that's basically impossible for anyone to cross.
And here's the glue that holds it all together. Look at that number. The median employee tenure is 14 years. In an industry where people jump firms all the time, that's just incredible. Nobody leaves, which means the talent, the institutional knowledge, and most importantly, the secrets, they all stay inside the company.
Okay, this is an absolutely incredible story. But, you know, the Medallion Fund has been closed to outside investors since 1993. So for a regular person like me, investing in 2026, what's the real takeaway? Is there anything we can actually use here, or is this just a cool story about a unicorn we can never touch?
Oh, there are huge takeaways. We obviously can't copy their code, but we can absolutely adopt their mindset. First, data is everything. Focus on good data, not just a good story. Second, and this is a big one, be humble. Any advantage you think you have is probably temporary. The market is always adapting, so you have to as well. Third, discipline. If you have a system that works, trust it. Don't let fear or greed make you override it. And finally, the power of teamwork. They proved that a diverse team of experts will always beat a lone genius.
You know, if you boil it all down, I think this is the most profound lesson of all. For 100 years, Wall Street was dominated by big personalities telling stories about companies and economies. Simons came along and proved that the market is much more like a physical system, with hidden rules that you can only uncover through rigorous, data-driven science.
So I guess that's the final question that this whole story leaves us with.
Exactly. Are you investing like you're a storyteller trying to guess the next chapter based on your gut, or are you investing like a scientist trying to find a real statistical edge and then applying it with discipline?
Jim Simons proved beyond a shadow of a doubt which one of those approaches wins. The only real question left is, which one are you using?